everyone, and welcome back to the Corner for Culture and Conversation. I am your host, Jazz, and we're going to jump right back into this week's topic, which is ancient Greek drama. Yesterday, we had the pleasure of discussing Euripides' drama Medea, and today we have the pleasure of discussing Sophocles' drama Antigone. For those of you who were unable to tune in earlier this week, we started off with a brief history of all the dramatists that would be featured. But not to worry, I will get you caught up for those of you who were unable to tune in, and we'll start with a brief history of Sophocles, then get into a brief summary of the play, and then open the lines up and get some discussion started. So first off, Sophocles was born in 496 BC to a pretty wealthy family in Athens, Greece. He lived to be about 90 years old. During that time, he wrote over 100 dramas, as well as quite a bit of tragic poetry. He was one of three ancient Greek dramatists whose work withstood the hands of time, the tests of time, and are available for us to enjoy and view and discuss today. Even though he was able to write so many plays, unfortunately, only 7 of his works were able to be preserved in completion for us to enjoy, and one of them is Antigone. So with that being said, let's get into it. For those of you that are not familiar with the play, Antigone is the main character, and the play revolves around her dilemma in trying to figure out where her loyalty lies, whether it lies with state, the laws of state, the laws of religion, or the laws of family. In the first scene, we discover that both of Antigone's brothers have fought and died in a battle between both countries. We also find out that her uncle takes the throne after her father dies during the battle as well. The dilemma comes in when her uncle, the king, orders that her brother Polynices, who fought for the opposing country, was to be punished by not being buried. This is where the conflict comes in, because for Antigone, who is strong in her faith and belief, it is her belief that it's her belief that you honor your loved ones in life as well as in death, and the way that they honor in death is to bury their loved ones honorably. So this is where the conflict comes in. So Antigone goes back and forth trying to figure out where her loyalty lies. Long story short, she decides to bury her brother, really at the sacrifice of her own life. The king ordered that Polynices was not to be buried, and anybody who did and disobeyed would be killed. So unfortunately, or bravely or honorably, however you look at it, Antigone chose to sacrifice her own life to make sure that her brother was honored in death. So with that being said, there's a little bit of information about the play. For those of you that are not familiar with the play, haven't read the script or seen or been able to view the play, I highly suggest you go out there and do so. The play is pretty good. With that being said, let's turn to our screens and get some discussion going. All right, we have a question coming in from Culture Chaser 123, and Culture Chaser 123's question reads, what ideas, moments, or scenes of the play contribute to your understanding of society during that time? Well, that's a very good question, and I will say that in the play there was a scene where Antigone went to her sister and asked her sister to help her bury their brother, pleading to her that, that this was their brother and we honor our family in life as well as death, and that they believed that this was the right thing to do and that they should do it. Unfortunately, her sister said absolutely not and refused to go against the state. So that was one scene. The other scene that I will use is the scene when she was taken to her uncle after she buried her brother, and her uncle pretty much, even though this was his niece and even though this was his nephew, that he was ordering this dishonorable act on. At the end of the day, the state meant more than family and religion. So, in both cases, ultimately, state was chosen over religion and family. So, those two scenes pretty much helped me draw an understanding of the society back then, that religion and family were important, but not more important than state. All right, let's move on to our next question. Our next question comes from Hercules 02. And Hercules' question is pretty much similar to the first question. And the question states, what ideas, scenes, moments of the play help contribute to your understanding of your culture and society today? That's also another good question. I would have to say that I would take both of the same scenes that I used in the previous question and just state that our culture is not too much different from what culture was back then. You know, while we really value family and religion, I do believe that state governors what we're going through. We have a lot of different things going on to date that kind of has our country in turmoil, but at the end of the day, state and the laws of our country succeed pretty much anything else. So, you know, that's what I would say about those two scenes, and that our society and ancient Greek society, no matter how it's depicted, are still pretty similar. As far as myself and how my specific culture and society within my immediate family, I would have to lean more towards Antigone. That's how I grew up. We would be more loyal to religion and family. So with that being said, let's get one more question in before we have to go to break. All right, let's look down and see. We have Pretty Pink 77. And Pretty Pink 77 wants to know, would I recommend this text to someone else? And absolutely I would. I would definitely recommend this play and script to all of my viewers out there. That's pretty much part of this podcast and why I'm doing it, because this was a really awesome play. It really made me take the time and look into myself and, you know, really kind of figure out where my loyalties lie. Is it family? Is it religion? Is it the laws of the state? So absolutely, I would definitely recommend this play. It depicts a great representation of loyalty and honor and proposes a great question. Where does yours lie? All right, with that being said, I'm actually going to throw that question back out to our listeners. And when we come back off of break, we'll hear from you guys. Thanks.